Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's AlphaNooner. We are very excited to kick off the week. We are welcoming back Margaret Brodie, CEO of Rubicon Organics, here to talk a little bit more about the company, as well as, of course, share some insight on sort of the Canadian market as a whole as it's developing in the cannabis space. Always stuff going on. We've talked a lot about what kind of the story has been in the US, but definitely want to tap into kind of that international side as well. So very excited to sit down with her. Good reminder, if you're out there, one, if you're in the US, happy almost Thanksgiving. We're almost there. And then two, of course, if you've got any questions, comments, you are always welcome to throw them in the chat. I see Stevie in here. Also happy Thanksgiving as well to you.
Stevie.
With all that said, thanks so much, Margaret. How are you doing? We were talking Thanksgiving before going live. How are you? How's the week?
Well, I have to admit to decorating for Christmas this weekend and being overly excited, but I am jealous of American Thanksgiving because we've already had ours and it is my favorite holiday of the year and just getting family together, etc. So I'm wishing all of my great friends in the US a great Thanksgiving.
That's awesome. I will say I normally am a very staunch, no Christmas decorations, but like before Thanksgiving, but I feel like you get a little more of a break because it's in October. So for you guys,
we're normally December 1st for that and Christmas music. But this year I threw it all out.
Just want to bring a little extra cheer. Just want to try to get things going. Okay. I feel like we need that nowadays, which is good. All right. Nice. Glad to hear it. Well, then I know, things have been busy, but in a good way, which has been great. So I'd love to kind of start maybe on sort of the company side, talking through Rubicon Organics and kind of what highlights have been going on, what's been new. And then I guess on the other side, we'll chat kind of a little bit about kind of what the landscape is looking like, if that works for you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited to talk about what's happening in Canada and internationally because there is growth and it's interesting and winners are beginning to emerge in Canada even more than last time we spoke. Rubicon Organics, our company, very proud to say, #1 licensed producer, premium licensed producer in the country. We had record net revenue increasing 34% from Q3 23 to Q3 24. Tells you that there is growth out there in the market. Operating cash flow positive, adjusted EBITDA positive, and just going from strength to strength. We have the #1 topical in the country. 2 of our brands for the last 2 years have been the top 2 of the top 5 most recommended brands by bud tenders. We launched premium edibles in 23. We were 5% of the market in immediately after launching Q3 23. By the same metric in 2024, we had almost 30% of the market. Goes to show when you go out and you do something well, you can, with quality, with high quality experiences, consistent quality product aimed at a consumer insight, you can crush it. And then we took the same formula and we applied it to vape. We went out and in Q2, we launched our vape, very early Q2. In 6 months, we got national distribution of 55%. We're only in 3 of the provinces, so British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario. And we are very proud of the quality with which that's out there. It's a full spectrum extract. So more of a whole plant experience rather than sort of the Everclear distillate worldview. We're here to bring absolutely fabulous quality weed and genetics to the market. And then we have been applying contract manufacturing. We find absolutely wonderful partners. We commit to them. We help them grow their businesses to grow our brands. And what you're going to see very soon from us, but certainly before the end of the year, is we're refinancing our debt. Our debt is about $8 million US, refinancing about the same amount. And the interest rate right now is 7.5%, looking to be at similar rates as we refinance. So watch this space from us, which is very exciting and setting the business up for the next number of years and getting ready for growth. So I guess the one other thing I should mention, and you asked about what's new with Rubicon, is last week we had I would say the stock is cheap. Certainly my opinion. We had some movement in the stock where we had a block move out, created a buying opportunity with 3 million shares going across the board. Very happy to see that the stock is actually moving back up from that. And I think I've had a lot of inbound calls, a lot of interest following on because there's volume in the stock, and that's always a good thing.
That's always a healthy sign. Love to see that. Okay, so I feel like lots of good highlights, which are great and good to see that the company is moving along so well. I know it's a team effort in a lot of ways, but also kind of as a leader of the ship, you're making a lot of those decisions, coming into the year. Do you feel like you've accomplished kind of what you've set out to? What has, been different in terms of the year so far? What would you make of, where you're putting importance kind of for 2024?
I think 2024, we are one of those businesses that focuses. And I want to mention, it is certainly not me. It is an absolute team effort. You can't do it alone. We have fantastic people in our business, and we focused on, look, we're doing a big software and ERP project. I'm going to put that to the side because it's not very sexy and exciting. It certainly is cost against our results, but it's one-time costs. Focusing on quality, improving our quality. We've seen an improvement in the quality of our flower, and that drives consistency and brand loyalty. So probably one of the most important things that we do. We will always have that be top of mind for our business, always how to improve. But thirdly, our vape launch, launching that vape, getting it right, getting it into market, moving consumer into the brand, and getting that repurchase and that consistency. So when we announced it and launched it in the spring, we said we won't really know until August, September, because it's about the moment of rebuy. Everybody gets that first attempt, first try, but do people love it and keep buying? And that's what we've seen, and that's what I'm so excited about. So yeah, I'm really happy. I think the Canadian market, the second half of last year had 23 had tremendous price compression. Price compression had been building up for a few years, but it really hit a pressure point. And we felt that continue into the first part of, I would say, probably into about May of this year. So that hurt us, and that was frustrating. But we've seen it begin to recover. And I think it's interesting to see, and I know we'll talk about the international markets in a while, but what's happening in Canada is there's a real dearth of quality supply. And there's so much demand for it. So are we going to see price increases? I think we're starting to see that in the wholesale market. It takes a minute for that to move into store. As a business, you want to manage the increasing price against your consumer expectations and what's in their wallet. We're competing against the grocery store. We're competing against rents. But being mindful that if there's a lack of supply of the good stuff, then maybe we in the industry can take a little price.
Well, so I did definitely want to dig into that a little bit more in terms of how the kind of the customer story and consumer story and how that's changed. Because I think definitely in the US as well as in Canada, there's definitely been a bit of a squeeze on the consumer across the board. Like you're saying, whether you're going out to eat or, filling your car up with gas. Or, do you guys call it petrol over there? No, you just call it gas.
No, yes.
You do? Okay, fair enough. All those different things I feel like.
Some of the British words and some of the American words, and you can spell color with a U or without, and we're good with it.
I love that flexibility. All right, that's awesome. But I feel like in general, there's so much of a push in terms of presenting a premium product. Is that something that you're seeing people kind of not save up for, but rather than being, I'll try whatever, they're really trying to only go to those trusted places? How are you sort of adjusting and adapting for that changing consumer?
We are definitely seeing that. And so what we found in Canada was it began with building that trust in the brand. So for us, we found the consistency of quality builds a consumer trust. And now that, and I think we're still at the beginning of it, we're only 5 years into legalization. So in 10 years, I'm really excited to see where we're going to be. You open up a Heineken, you don't doubt what it's going to be. Now you can see the inside, but there's a lot of examples of food you buy in a box where you can't see the inside and you know what it's going to be. That would probably be more similar to what we're doing. That every time that Oreo is going to be an Oreo and it's going to be great. We want that experience for our consumers. I think the consumer is getting there, and what we're finding now that they've gotten more trust, what's happening is they're moving to larger formats. So we started with the eighth. Now they're moving to an ounce. So the 25 grams is how it's sold in Canada, or 3.5 grams. And that ounce, what happens is there's a different pricing slope. So it does impact your profitability, because kind of like going to Costco, you pay a little bit less, but you get a little bit more on a per unit basis. So while that's wonderful and we're locking people into buying our brand, when you get capacity constrained, you actually want to shift them back. So that becomes about bringing in new genetics and new things that you can put in those smaller formats that people are interested and trust to buy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like that is the interesting balance between the small formats where people are kind of testing and trying, low risk, but whatever, versus making those larger purchases. I know margin is different, but I think it does show kind of that trust and element. I see my diabetic journey in here saying they buy it 90% of the time, which is great.
Oh, thank you.
That's good stuff. All right. Well, then I would love to talk. Well, actually, let me hit vapes really quickly just before we move in. I know that was something that we talked about before, and it seems like that is, not a bet done well, but sort of an investment done well. You mentioned it's only in 3 provinces so far. Does that change, grow? What sort of, because it seems like that's a category that is pretty aggressively growing generally. What's sort of the
Well, we think that vapes are going to continue to grow in the Canadian market. They have been the area of rapid growth. So to the first half, to June 30th, I think they grew 15%. I can't remember the stat to September 30th, but it was pretty tremendous. You know, in the US and in Colorado and California, they're about 30% of the market. They're only about 16% of our market yet. So I think there's still a lot to go in vape. What we're finding is the consumer who consumes flower also consumes vape in a different experience, in a different location. So if they go to a restaurant and they want to pop outside, they're not necessarily going to have a whole joint. They might take a few pulls of a vape pen. So we can bring that same consumer the experience in different situations. I think vape is going to get a lot bigger. I'm hoping that the province of Quebec opens up to vape. They've been closed to it. They're the second largest market in the country. Wonderful market. And I spent a lot of time in La Belle Province, so I'm a big fan of it. We'll see what happens there. I think the other story for vape and oil is while we're seeing flower get interesting in the international markets, I think the oil story is going to be massive. And again, I think we're going to see people go on the same journey they've gone in Canada, which is moving to quality now when they have money in their jeans. And I think that's a really important part for us to talk about. So you asked me a question at the beginning of this, which is what have we seen with consumers, you know, when they're feeling the pressure on their wallets? I think Canada's come through. Our inflation level has really come down a lot. And so we've sort of stabilized to a certain extent, sort of who knows what the economy has in store. But we are seeing people start to feel they've got a little more money in their jeans. Okay. And with that, they're moving back into quality because of that consistency. What we found, I would have said we were in recession in 23 and into the first part of 24, we really found consumers going for lowest price, highest THC. And I think if you look at the statistics around alcohol in a recession, people move away from beer and into hard alcohol and spirits because they can get the experience for cheaper. Now, it's not the same quality experience, I would say. So we're seeing that shift back in our market, and we're really pleased to see that.
So moving away from Everclear sort of into something a little more craft or nice.
Lagunitas, right? That's the difference, or into a beautiful scotch. So I think if you make, if you think when the economy is tough, it's tougher for premium. But as long as it's, in a pretty good spot, or you have built that real consistent loyalty, you're in a good position.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That's interesting to hear as well. I'm glad to hear that the recovery is going well kind of on that side of the border. I feel like here we've definitely seen a lot of, economic signals saying that things are definitely getting better. And, of course, we're covering up a pandemic globally. That's really tough. But I still feel like there's a sense that people feel like their money still isn't going far enough. But hopefully that'll also recover on this side. We'll see eventually. But maybe let's talk a little bit kind of broader, kind of the environment you're in. I feel like last time we talked, we were talking about some of the new regulations, the excise tax and everything. What's the update?
No word there, unfortunately. And, I'm a board member of the Cannabis Council of Canada. We've been lobbying very hard for excise reform. We know that the bureaucrats understand the issue, understand how it's impacting competitiveness. For example, if our business sells 60 million in weed off the top line, we pay 15 million of taxes, which is crazy before we've made any money. That being said, I think at some stage there will be reform. I just can't predict when. I think we're doing the hustle and the good work. The province in which I'm sitting in, British Columbia, has written the federal government encouraging changes. We know the people that are making money in this consistently are the government. Companies like ours are making money, but it's not consistent across the industry. And we'd like to see a strong competitive industry where, let us compete, let us win. I'm just let us play and let's pay you off the bottom line in taxes. Happy to do that, but make it fair. Yeah, take the training wheels off. Let's go, right? And I think that's what we want to do. We want to play in a competitive, open market and let us go out and win. That's my view.
Okay, interesting. Well, so what are the impacts of that regulation temporarily? Not coming through necessarily?
I think it makes it harder for Canadian companies to compete in Canada. What we're seeing is a huge amount of companies pivot completely out of the Canadian market because there's such demand for our product internationally. What we're finding at Rubicon is massive amount of inbound inquiries. And a lot of it's off the strength of our Canadian brands and the consistency and loyalty that we have in our positioning. We're getting phone calls every day from all over the world. Canadian product can go internationally. We've seen some companies fully pivot out of the Canadian market. It might be right for them, might be more profitable in the short term. I think in the long term, as if you look 3 to 5 years, and maybe it's 5 to 10, who knows, globalization of cannabis. Australia is turning on, various places in Africa are turning on, Colombia is turning on, especially if you're not playing in the premium category. If you don't have somewhere to sell it locally, you don't have a business left, because it's going to move to lowest cost producer. We're going to move to a distillate oil that is produced in large fields, et cetera, like that. So our view is we want to win in Canada. It's our home. It's important to us, but then I think we'll take advantage of, looking to be the global leader in premium and organic cannabis. And I think you'll hear more from us in 25. Yeah. That's all I'll say on it. But I think the opportunity to sell, and Canadian companies are just selling all their product internationally. The demand is incredible. So that is largely because companies don't believe that they can make money in Canada. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, what's happening is the provinces control, the provincial distributors control the lists that retailers can buy to. So we're separated in Canada. You can either be a retailer, you can be a cultivator. And the list is controlled by the province. So if you take your business all outside of Canada, bringing it back on and getting on those lists, and those lists are getting tighter and tighter and tighter, like they have in alcohol, you're not going to be able necessarily, so it's certainly not going to be easy to get back on the list and then get that brand loyalty and have consumers trust your product. So you can see the massive risks that people take when they take their product outside of Canada and take their brand fully outside of Canada.
All right. Hard to see the opportunities being there, but again, wanting to take a balanced view to capture it. Do you think in you were talking about 5 years or 10 years out, do you see yourself being positioned more as sort of a Canadian company that is international, or sort of an international cannabis company that I know, again, Canadian.
I think Canada will, we are a Canadian company. Canada will be our home. Okay. We will test and learn in the Canadian market. We want to win in the Canadian market. We want to be the premium leader in the Canadian market. But that doesn't mean to say that Lululemon is a great BC company just down the road from me here. They're an international company now, but their headquarters is here. I could see, do I say that I have ambitions to be the leading premium brands internationally? Of course I do. Sure. But I mean, who are we kidding? We'd love to do that and take great BCB to the world. So it doesn't mean we can't do it from here. And I think the product for us will come from Canada. I think there's expertise in premium that is fantastic. I have to say, I'm not mad that full legalization for the US seems to take a minute. Now, I do want descheduling, and I do want the states to move. There's no question about that. That's, a rising tide floats all boats. But I wouldn't mind a little more time to get into those international markets and establish our brands.
That's fair enough. I know, again, you don't have to dig into it in too much depth or detail, but just from the outcome of the election on this side of the border, does that have any sort of general impacts?
I think look, I mean, I think the U.S. economy overall is going to roar. And I think that's good for Canada, and I think that's good for everyone. I don't want to get political. It's not, I'm here to grow great weed, and the U.S. is our best friends.
There you go. Yeah. Love it. Fair enough. Love it. That's true. Yeah. All right. I'm seeing some good questions come in and comments. Let's see. My diabetic journey likes the jet fuel gelato in the vapes.
Oh, yeah.
Good. They were mentioning, so the list you were talking about, is that list in Alberta the reason Homestead ounces are no longer available here?
Is that list in Alberta? Partially, yes, but partially it's also supply. We don't grow for a brand called Homestead. We grow for our two, for our flower, we grow for 1964 and Simply Bare. Mm-hmm. Each of them is a bit different. Simply Bare is new and novel genetics. We're really trying to put new connoisseur level product into it. And 1964 is really legacy genetics. And products that trying to recruit into the legal market, the legacy consumer. Homestead is only available when we have product that doesn't meet the specifications for the brands. So it's not consistent. Because of that, we don't have enough supply to go across the country all the time with it. So oftentimes we'll sell it all in Ontario, and then there's none to go to the rest of the country. So yes, that is the answer, but also it's just that we can't consistently supply it. So when it's out there, I would say pick it up and have a little fun.
There you go. That sounds good. Good answer in general. I also see some people are volunteering as a tester. So if you need any more testers,
Well,
what
we
you
do have
gotta.
an R&D license, and actually, one thing that Rubicon does is every batch that comes out of our facility gets tested through the R&D panel to make sure it meets qualifications. Every new lot gets R&D tested. I know that sounds like a lot of fun. Yes, we have to get people home safe, but it's so important to consistency and quality in everything we do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think having that personal connection and that closeness to the products definitely probably makes a difference over time, which is great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then sort of, again, looking at that bigger picture, any other sort of things that are in play? I know it sounds like potentially some, room for consolidation. Is there anything with sort of the larger, more legacy players outside of cannabis that are in the mix at all? What sort of?
I think that's a good question. We're seeing legacy growers come into the legal market. We're seeing a massive firing back up of facilities because prices have gone up. And we saw massive price compression, really tough economic times for a lot of people. And then with the international demand, what you'll see on Twitter, what you'll see in the cannabis brokerage firms is anybody have any weed, anybody have any premium weed. We want premium weed. We've got buyers for it internationally. And look, Germany hasn't even fully switched on. The UK is coming online. Australia is already the largest market. I think Australia is going to have its own supply in 3 to 5 years. Will they be able to get there in premium? I would love to say I hope not, but you never underestimate a competitor. Means we've got to get better every day. But I think that we're going to see. I think we're going to see the legacy market and more people come into the legal market in Canada, and I think it's a good thing. Bring all the competition out, and then we're looking for great contract manufacturing, great partners. I said in my public remarks after our earnings, we're looking to grow our flower business by 20% next year. And so, whether it's in Canada or internationally, I think we've got the demand for our brands. And so, that consistency and that quality. With a consumer, they've spent, let's say they walk into store and spend $250 on an ounce. You want them to, if they're spending that level of money, they know that they're getting something that's banging. And that's really important.
Yeah,
hard-earned dollars, right? I say to our team all the time, somebody's worked a really busy day. You want them to come home, open up your product and love it. And they've worked hard for their money. So let's honor that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. I wonder also, just coming up on the holidays, I'm sure there's a lot of stress in some ways for people. So I'm sure there's some buying around that. Would love to know if there's any trends, but I imagine there's also people who are getting people gifts with the hard-earned money. I feel like is that part of in play? One
of the things that we sell really, really well, we have the #1 topical stick in the country. And Mac was not seated with this question, everybody. But a lot of people, once you try it, I wish I had it's a bright green or a pale green stick. It's called Wildflower, and it's absolutely wonderful topical. My mom was going to kill me. She uses it every day, and she's not a cannabis consumer, but it's a great product. So I think those types of stocking stuffers are really surprising and wonderful to people, especially the people that aren't quite comfortable going in the store yet. They really appreciate it because they love the product. And once it's one of those try and believe products.
That's good. All right. I'll have to keep an eye out for it. What is it called again? One more time?
Wildflower.
Okay. There you go. All right. If people are shopping in Canada, I feel like people are just starting to really get into their holiday shopping. They're taking a look, I guess. That's good.
Yeah, no, you know what? That's true. And I have not started. So I've got Christmas decorations up. That was a massive win, but and unexpected for me, if I'm honest.
No, fair enough. All right, love it. Okay, well then I guess kind of heading into the end of the year and coming into 2025, what are sort of things that have your eye, your focus? Is it the same sort of continue to push on the same plan? What's sort of the?
Well, I think there's a couple of big things. One is I'm really excited about genetics. I think to win in the long term, any company, if you're not looking at your genetics and building, especially if you want to play in premium, but anywhere, you want high yielding, low risk of, like, it's agriculture, low risk of crop loss, all that kind of stuff, but strains that have wonderful effect that fit the flavor profile of where the trends are coming. We're actually often going down the US West Coast looking at trends. We send our team down. It sounds like the best job in the world? I think it might be. But it's also a lot of pressure because, we're making judgments and decisions to grow crops on things. I think genetics are very, very important. And then I think the continued expansion of vape and then the international markets, those are probably the three big things that as we look forward. We've seen massive growth in edibles as well. We do single strain live rosin edibles. That experience, once you've tried a live rosin edible versus a distilled edible, you for the extra, $2 or $3 that you spend, the experience is so much better that people just don't go back. And I think it's still cheaper than alcohol, and you wake up in the morning and no hangover, right?
That is a key thing for sure.
I'm sold.
Allegedly. I think that's true. And again, as everyone's getting older, the headaches, they hit you more. You feel,
Oh God.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah.
You got to be up and productive as well in the morning. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing. You mentioned, I think you'd mentioned before the West Coast kind of trend checking out. Anything that's been interesting? Is it like
I'm not going to tell you what we think is what we're doing. There's no way that I'm going to tell you that. But we do have some things up our sleeve and some new drops coming for next year. We've got sort of the genetics for the next 3+ years sorted out. Obviously, they'll change subject to market conditions and if there's trends changing. But look, genetics are a huge part of being a leader. They're exciting. Look, you look at Cookies and Alien Labs in the US. We are looking to replicate that here in Canada and put our own spin on it. I think that's important too. And be really proud of the flavor forward, really interesting, fun genetics. I had a moment a week and a half ago, and I hope my friend doesn't kill me, where I got a midday text from a friend who's actually a quadriplegic. And I'd given her some of our Fruit Loops gummies, and she's just having a bad week. And so she took one and she texted me in the middle of the day, and she said, "I'm having the best experience I've had. My body feels better than it's felt in years. This is amazing. I love your job. Keep it coming. I'm so proud of you." It was this hilarious thing. And I realized she was really, really high and she was having a good time. And I think we have to remember through all of this, those genetics aren't just things that we take to have fun and relax. They actually really help people. And there's a whole medical market out there that's still benefiting. And I think as we look around the world and we look at the next 3 to 5 years as the seniors get older, I think there's probably a situation of really looking to target what are the right genetics for that. Now, we're targeting the rec market a little more, so we'd like people to have a little bit of fun. But I think it's going to be interesting, whether it's sleep, anxiety, depression, just overall good health, and anti-inflammatory. There's a lot that this plant can do.
Yeah, it seems to be almost every day. And I don't know if I'm just super tuned into accounts that are following medical advancements or, studies and things like that. But even for things like athletes and recovery and running. And so not even an ailment necessarily, but just to kind of improve recovery or things like that. It seems like it fits quite a lot of things, which is great. And I think that's just only going to continue to expand as some of the kind of old-fashioned hangups kind of fall away as people kind of are able to embrace a new opportunity, which is great. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time. I feel like it's great to always kind of check in and see what's going on, get some insight. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share. What's the rest of your day look like? Busy?
Yeah, but I mean, we live for this stuff, right? I mean, isn't it fun? We get to grow weed and make people happy. It's always busy. We have a great team. I always look forward to meetings with them. And if I told you everything I was up to, I probably would be giving up too many secrets. Rubicon, you'll notice, tries to talk about things once they're either just about to launch, then we talk about it, and then we're going to do it really, really well. And you're just going to see that consistent pattern from us. So we have a pretty smart, fantastic, amazing team that I rely heavily on, because I certainly couldn't do my job in being able to talk to you guys without them. And I'm excited about what's to come in 25. Probably, as somebody was saying to me the other day, most bullish you've sounded in a long time. And I think it's the next phase of Canadian cannabis coming up. I'm excited for it.
That's exciting. All right. Well, again, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it, everyone. Thanks for joining as well. Hope you have a great start to your week, and we will catch you tomorrow.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy almost Thanksgiving. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Before investing, carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses found in the prospectus, available at AdvisorShares.com.